Hey, welcome to Trinity in 20 this week. It's good to be with you. Today I have a special treat for you. Our good friend Joe Collins. If you watch anything on our website, anything, live stream, Trinity in 20, something like that, anything like that, Joe is the brains, the artist, the worker bee, the everything behind that, except for today, because he's now in front of the camera. But Joe, good to have you with us. It's always good to have Joe here. I mean, we're blessed to have Joe here. But something you may not know is that Joe also leads a small group here on Thursday evenings. Yeah. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today.
Well, thanks. I was asked, for no good reason, I'm kidding, but Hannah, if everybody remembers Hannah, Pastor Hannah was here, and she's like, hey, Joe, you might consider doing a small group, because Hannah and I used to talk and have a lot of the similar influences in the way we thought about spirituality. And so I hadn't thought, of course, about it. But what I did, Gary, is I did think about it, because I like to have deeper conversations personally, and a lot of people do, about faith, about life. And I think we know today more than ever, people are hungry to be a part of something where they're known. And I use that word known.
Yeah. And you all talk about personal faith stories.
We do. I think God, here's the premise we look at least I do. God created all of us absolutely uniquely. And many of us grew up in either a culture or a religion or a family that didn't always celebrate our uniqueness. Yeah. Some of us grew up with strict parents or a strict church, and they may or may not have a good sense of themselves or how God sees them. And we say, come into our small group. It's called divine inspiration. And what we mean by that is everybody is not only unique, but they're artistically inclined or creatively inclined. I don't mean like everybody has to be an artist. And we just talk and we get to know each other. And we say, we're letting everybody talk, and we're not criticizing each other on what they say. This isn't a debate. This is so everybody can share ideas.
Do you have a topic? Do you have stated topics for each week, kind of like the jumping off point?
Yeah, we do. It's not a Bible study, and this is a kind of different group that way, because we have people on board, and we're glad to have everybody. You and I, let's look at it the way I look at it again. You and I both follow this person named Jesus Christ, but we see him each in a slightly different way, through a different lens, based on what we know, how we think. We have people in the group that are not necessarily, they grew up in a Christian environment, they don't know where they stand now. They may be feeling agnostic, they may be feeling, I don't know what to think, or where is God? Others are, they've got some influences from other religions or faiths, and we like, come in, let's talk. Because I think there's a commonality to all of us. We're all spiritual beings, and we want to not only grow ourselves, but know other people that way.
Yeah, I think one of the things you touched on is that all of us are unique. Clearly, God has a thing for diversity. Whether we realize that or not, whether we like that or not, but just to look across the globe, God must have this thing for diversity, and however God gets there, is God bored? Is God, just God, is God creative? Like we say sometimes around here, maybe God doesn't have Netflix or doesn't have anything else to do on a Friday evening, so he thinks up new ways of being. But for us, we try to crush so many things into making it all the same. Because it's easy that way, and if I could force you to be like me, or you force me to be like you, or, force you into a box, and I can account for you, and, I guess it makes it easy, but.
And you're right, and it's easiest for us to follow, and I think we're seeing that, and we're not there to make any political statement or whatever, but we do know in America we're so divided, and that is we're judging each other across the table on these very simple, and I call them simple things, where we have much more commonality. And that's what we're trying to let everybody come in and say, come in, let's just talk. I want to hear your heart, and I want you to hear mine, and I don't want we're not about judging each other. We're about let's just chat it out, and let's choose to say God is going to enter that conversation, because I believe, and I think most of us believe in the group, that God is for us, loves us, and is like, we got to trust God to keep directing us in a way that would be fit for our lives, the way we were created.
Well, and to be able to say to everybody, I have something to offer to you, but I trust and believe you have something to offer to me.
Right. And so what we do is we talk about historic spiritual figures. We don't do a Bible study. We talk about some of our heroes that have inspired us, some of the writing that has inspired us, some of the people that have inspired us, our family backgrounds, how we were raised, and some things we have hang-ups on. It's also, of course, like any small group, ideally, we're sharing concerns in our life, things that are going on in our life, so that we can support one another. Just this week, one of our members broke a leg, and multiple people that had never known this woman before are stopping into the rehab center to see her. And it's delightful because we only met this particular person, many of us, just like 5-6 months ago, and yet everybody's just lining up to do it because you're finding everybody's got each other's back, and in whatever way that means, and it's lovely.
Yeah, it is. I was kind of not pressed into this, but somebody poked me a few weeks ago and said, "Do you have a word for the year?" I'm like, word for the year. I mean, I know. I had to sit there and like, I guess, excuse me, I guess I do. It would be community, right? And we've talked about that now. Even if you listen to the sermons over the last several weeks, and how do we be community? And that we desperately need community. But what you're doing is forming real community by bringing people together, with nothing other than my desire to be present.
And we're none of us are, looks like we're not special that way. All we want to say is, rather than being home on my television, on my phone, on my computer, where we just get hooked into watching and being observers and doing this kind of communication or whatever, or the kids, and I say that because I can't do it, the fast texting each other, that's great. But that is not community. That's not looking each other. That's not feeling the heat coming off you, so to speak. I mean, one of our members is really big on saying, do you ever just sit there and let people come up and give you a hug just to say that's human contact? There's so many people at home, in homes that live by themselves, that don't get a lot of social or physical contact. And we're not all about at all physical contact, but those are really important to human beings. That we say, we're not just a brain, we're not just a body, we have spirit and all these things that need to connect with one another. And we're only on this earth for so long, let's get together and celebrate it.
Yeah. So if I want to be part of your group, what do I have to do?
Well, I'll put up since I'm editing this, our good friend Dave Fisher is videotaping it for us, but I will put up an email. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
I'll put up an email of my email, and if anybody wants to ask more questions, we have people asking once in a while, what is it? Because they're used to something a little more formal. But you're always invited to come in, say hi. And so we're trying to understand how just to be with each other.
Wow.
Sometimes it's just being with one another.
Wow. So come and be with Joe, be with Joe's group. Follow the email, send Joe a message, come and be part of that. Come and be part of any of the things that we do here at Trinity.
Yeah, that's what I want to say also. If you need community, this church it's unbelievable, so come on in. There's so many ways to get hooked up here that is community. Whether it's the choir, whether it's serving food, those are powerful community because you're doing something together.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You guys are really good at it.
Well, thanks. Yeah. Well, you help us do that, so we're appreciative. So thanks for being here.
Okay.
Thanks for the insight about the group. Thanks for offering that. And thank you for being with us. Come and be with us. Be part of this community. We'll see you soon.